The trials and tribulations of adolescence are on display for the entire world to see in Didi, written and directed by Sean Wang, who's done shorts and some other projects. Check out his IMDb page for the full list of his work. This takes place in August of 2008, where Isaac Wang plays Chris Wang, a 13-year-old growing adolescent boy who lives with his mother, his grandmother, his sister too, and is kind of going through it even though he has friends, and he has started a YouTube channel, and he's on Facebook on the Information Superhighway. As an adolescent, he's going through changes and acting out and stuff like that. And part of the reason he's acting out is his father isn't there. His father's away on business in Taiwan. And you know what? It's a good thing his father was able to grow up, because could you imagine if his father, at 13 years old, instead of a growing adolescent boy, was a shrinking adolescent boy? Then he would have been the incredible shrinking Wang, and he wouldn't have been able to father a family with an incredible shrinking Wang. So now with that visual right there, let's get back to Didi. So, basically we see life through Chris's eyes, but also through his mother's eyes. We also see how he interacts with his sister, who's about to go off to college. And also the grandmother. I do want to shout the performance by the grandmother. Really, really good. They do capture the family dynamic well, and since, they're all Taiwanese, that is, Chris is balancing being an American child with Taiwanese traditional values. So he wants to honor his grandmother. He does love his mother, and he does love his sister, but obviously as a growing boy, he is acting out. That's the one thing about that age. It can definitely be a time where you act out, for good and for bad. That's the thing. You're going through all those changes, and that's one thing this movie does capture beautifully. And it's a 90-minute movie with some happiness, some sadness, and some raw reality that, you're going to make some fucked up choices and do some dumb shit as you grow up. Young people make stupid decisions, and there are some of those on display here. There are some earnest choices. There are some times where you realize, oh shit, I fucked up, but you can't go back. No, you can never go back. But August of 2008 is our setting, and it was a time of pure innocence where you could play outside, or you could be on the Information Superhighway, or you could get a home-cooked meal from your family. And, it's when kids could just do whatever. Kids were kids, and women did whatever they wanted to do, and girls went off to college, and then men were men, and sheep were scared somewhere in, I don't know, off in the middle distance. So yes, Didi had gotten quite the marketing campaign, at least as far as movies I saw. I saw quite a few trailers for this and was like, okay, this looks kind of entertaining. And I do want to say Isaac does capture the spirit of, a 13-year-old boy as far as making YouTube videos, wanting to fit in with people, even if you have to change things about yourself, and overreacting to things that, are just part of life. That's one thing I think this movie really does capture well, and also the performances. And the fact that it has a very sweet tone to it, but also a lot of raw reality. I really, really enjoyed this movie. It's one you definitely need to check out. It's very, very good. It's not one necessarily that you can spoil a ton, but as far as capturing the adolescence, as far as representation of Taiwanese and cultures in that area, transplanted to America, I thought it did a pretty damn good job with it. I thought this was really, really good. I think it's close to one of the best movies of the year. It's definitely worth watching. I don't know if it's going to really last that long in theaters, but if you get a chance, please do check it out. I do also like how you kind of don't, you sympathize a little bit with Chris, but you don't sympathize with him too much. Because you're like, eventually, you idiot, you have to pull your head out of your ass. I know you're growing, but come on. But it also captures that parental instinct of wanting your child to do good, wanting to protect them, but also wanting to let them grow. And it just really captured that spirit beautifully, and I thought this was a very, very good movie. Definitely one of the best movies I've seen this year, at least close to the, probably not close to the top 10, but it's right up there because it does capture that raw realism. And sometimes it's hard to sit through. It might make you squirm a little bit. It might remind you of some decisions you made, but it's pretty goddamn good overall. So let's get into a few spoilers. In theaters, if you want to check it out. On streaming soon, I imagine. 3, 2, 1, spoilers. So we start off with a mailbox blowing up. And then we find out why that mailbox blew up a little bit later, as Chris and his friends, Fahad and various others, are, shooting these videos and doing some crazy shit. And they're growing kids. He also happens to like a girl named Maddie that seems very sweet. The actress playing her. I don't know, but it's like she captured that spirit well, just being, herself a growing individual. And since it's in the very, final weeks of summer, you want to get a lot of your shit in, like your Brian Cage. That's a wrestling reference for anybody that doesn't get it. And if you don't, you are mind-numbingly confused. But Isaac plays this part very, very well. Him and Vivian, the sister, get in quite a few arguments. He steals her, sweatshirt and even steals one of her shirts at one point, more like to fit in. He kind of lies quite a bit about seeing quite a few movies to get in with Maddie. There's also MySpace. I remember MySpace. I actually met a few of my friends off of MySpace. I also met a few hookups off of MySpace. That's back before MySpace became, I believe, Meet Me. I don't even know if that thing still exists. But I do remember August 2008 pretty goddamn well. One, I was 27 years old. I'm 43 now. Where has the passage of time gone? It's smacking me in the goddamn sides of the head. But also was kind of going through my own goddamn shit. And that's kind of something this reminded me of. Yeah, not adolescence, but some choices, shall we say. And it was a long-term relationship that ended soon after. But you know what? It's fine. It wasn't meant to be. Everybody's good. You got to learn to grow from that shit, guys. And that's one thing about this movie, is growing. You got to learn to grow. And Isaac does have his friends, but he doesn't really know how to interact with, other people. He's not really good at that. He's kind of selfish. He kind of pushes off his mom's painting ability. And his mom actually is a pretty damn good painter. I don't know if that's actually the actress painting that or what. If it's the actress painting it, great. Whoever painted that stuff, they're pretty goddamn good. The mother really wants to do some stuff because she's kind of feeling overlorded by the grandmother, who, by the way, is the mother of her husband, not actually her mom. So, yeah, there's kind of that needling about that, about keeping up the traditional Taiwanese values and keeping all that going. And Vivian is about to take off for college. In fact, take off for college in a little bit. And we get kind of a whirlwind thing where eventually she comes around and is like, hey, I know I know we've had our arguments. You're my brother. I do love you. But also, after an encounter with Maddie doesn't go all that well, there could have been a test. It could have been Maddie basically, playing around with him. Maybe he was just really, really super nervous. Maybe he was, because he looked up videos on how to kiss girls. But that didn't end up working. I actually practiced on a couple slices of apple, which was kind of funny. I thought the sister was going to walk in. I would have laughed at that. But that doesn't end up working out. And then he ends up actually, during a messaging thing with her, ends up blocking her on Facebook because he just doesn't want to deal with the stress. That's kind of dickish to do that. That comes back to bite him in the ass a little bit later. He ends up kind of pushing his friends away because he gets in with a bit of an older crowd, some of the cool kids that do skateboarding videos, which lands him eventually making, some content at a mall parking lot or a park center or whatever the hell it is. But doesn't capture some good stuff, and he fakes his way into being seen as a filmmaker or somebody that shot stuff, shot skateboarding before, and then he has to Google how to do that stuff, has to Google terms. He's really trying to fit in, but in doing that, he's betraying who he is, but he's still trying to figure out who he is. So see, it's a whirlwind and a roller coaster of emotions. And meanwhile, his mother is really just trying to do some good stuff for him. And then the grandmother eventually ends up falling at one point. This is after the mother and the grandmother actually had an argument. Didi gets home after filming those skateboarding videos and finds his grandmother, and then she's like, I was down for 3 hours and nobody came, and this kind of stuff. How many years do I have left? I won't even be able to see Didi graduate college. They call him Didi, by the way. His friends call him Wang Wang. I promise I didn't laugh. I laughed. I'm sorry. I'm immature. I can't help it. But basically, he starts to realize, it's more important to take care of family. But also, he goes out and parties with these older kids and eventually starts drinking a whole bunch and doing stuff that a 13-year-old boy really shouldn't be doing. And then ends up getting sick, and his sister covers for him and stuff like that. And yeah, he then ends up he's making more YouTube videos, or trying to. He actually deletes a bunch of others to try and, make it look like he's not just doing silly videos. Even one that he did where him and his grandmother were just having some fun and she was being really sweet, and it was a nice wholesome moment. But then after that stuff kind of goes away, when he, fails to capture one particular run-in that one of the guys had with the mall security cop, Didi kind of snaps at his mother. And his friends, those friends are like, your paintings are really good. You did those? And then he kind of, was like, oh, Mom, you're embarrassing me. Dude, your mom wasn't being pushy at all. That's kind of dickish to do. So he kind of loses his friends there. Meanwhile, he's lost his other friends, even though there was an earlier thing where Fahad went off with another friend, but he couldn't get in the car because there wasn't enough room. Then a little bit later, Fahad's like, hanging out with a girl, I forget her name. Can we come with? Oh, there's not enough room in the car. We're getting these little sniping moments. So yeah, it's quite a, quick turnaround. Vivian goes off to college. He ends up running away at one point, getting in an argument with his mother. And that really leads to where he comes home a little bit later. It's like, oh, you didn't even come looking for me. Do you remember when your sister ran away? And so really, that car scene where the mother's talking to him and the scene where she's talking to him on the bed hit me. That was some good shit. If you have a parent, if you lost a parent recently, that stuff's really going to hit you. That was some good stuff. Like, do you think this is the life I want? No, but you're my son. I love you. This kind of stuff. And I've done the best I can. And Didi realizes he has been kind of a jerk. Kay's been an absolute jerk. And then also there's this point where, right before that, a kid ends up, I think a friend that was a friend of Maddie, mocks by saying some of the same stuff to Didi or Chris that Maddie said to him. So, was this him being played with? What was it? He has a skateboard and he hits the kid in the back. He hits the kid in the face with a skateboard. Chris, you can't do that. Just wanging it right off his forehead right there. And then that leads to the aforementioned argument, the running away, all that stuff. And then he's going to be back in school. He gets his braces off, by the way. Apparently braces can just fix things in like 3 weeks. I didn't know that, but I don't know how to feel about that. School pictures are going. He signs up for an arts and crafts class. He sees his old friends. It seems like things might be okay, but even Maddie says, you hit one of my friends in the face or whatever. So I don't really know if we can necessarily be, friends. Maybe things will be forgiven. Who knows? But that is Didi. And we never see the dad. Apparently the dad was just on business in Taiwan forever and ever and ever. So yeah, A+. Really good. Really enjoyed it. Really had a lot of fun with it. Is it 5 stars? 4.5 to 5 stars for me on Letterboxd is an A+. Because there's different levels to it. Yeah, there are a few irritating moments, and maybe for the right reasons, maybe some stuff that treads familiar ground, but for good world building and great performances, A+. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Rickland. I'll see you soon.